Hello, web wingers. It's time for the second episode of season 2. This time we've waited less than 7 months as well between uploading, which means this kind of consistency can never be maintained, but let's enjoy it while we can.
Welcome, everyone. What do you mean we can't maintain this level of consistency? No, we can't.
All right, well, based on how we've done so far, we can't, but we'll try anyway.
Yeah, we're trying. We had a break. It's all good.
No
Second episode of this season. Thanks to everybody who listened to the first one. It's nice to see that even after a break, people are still listening to what we're creating and enjoying. Enjoying is the word I'm using.
They're definitely enjoying.
Yeah. We hope that it's been useful, and we'd love to hear more comments and suggestions.
A little bit of a bigger topic today, now that we're getting back in the swing. One that businesses struggle with, to be honest, and struggle with the definition, I think, rather than just generally struggling with it, but one that, with a little bit of thinking, I don't think I personally have ever struggled to make some improvement on. So we're hoping to impart that into you, that actually, although it can be a daunting topic, we're going to be able to provide some suggestions that at least give you a bit of thinking space on how you can gain those brownie points of internet wonderfulness that take your business to the next level.
Yeah, so today's topic is that of the perception of value and how ensuring that it's at the forefront of any plans, even without it being obvious, subtle like us.
We are subtle, aren't we? Yes.
We are. And it can have huge benefits for customer experience and retention.
Yeah. Conversion, retention, those are the big points. And like we always say, it's very likely that customers already decided if they're going to make a purchase from you or not before they finish fully digesting your product page. But there's loads of opportunity to mess up before, after, even more opportunity to help push it over the line at every step of the user experience.
Oh no, you said it.
I did say it.
I don't say user experience.
I did. I know. We don't like it, but for once, everything we need to think about is encompassed in that terrible sloppy phrase. But yeah, it's where we need to start.
We'll be talking about story points next.
It's all right. We'll just move over those. No, we don't need to go that far. But we do need to define what we mean when we talk about the value and perceived value, because immediately you say that to someone and it is, well, that's the price. That's the price. It's the bottom line. It's the everything that I pay to you for what you give me. And although that is correct, it's actually more about what you give back that isn't just the core product, the core service that you're selling. And I think supermarkets are probably quite an easy way of suggesting to people what a way of thinking about perceived value is. So you've got big brand supermarkets, everyone knows the prices are established, they cost a little bit more. What they give you is the choice of brands and the variety within that choice of brands. Whereas you then look at a budget supermarket, don't particularly like that term because, again, perceived value. The value is different. We call it a budget supermarket because the price on the product is cheaper, but the value that you're getting is different. The car parks are smaller. The stores have a little bit less polish. The staff are all absolutely run ragged because they're having to do everything.
Yeah.
Your trade-off as a consumer is, I know when I go there, I'm going to accept less choice because the price I want to pay for each product is a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, so you're perhaps even going to accept slightly lower level of service.
Low level of service, you're going to have to pack your bags a lot quicker. There's nowhere for you to stand comfortably. They're going to be chucking them at you.
Yeah,
but
speed.
The price is a little bit cheaper these days. Do you want to use more of your money and get exactly what you want? Where I know they're going to have it in a big brand supermarket, or are you going to be going to one that has cheaper product prices but gives you different perceptions of where you're getting your value from. Realistically, you probably spend the same amount if you go to either supermarket. I know that I do, regardless. Both of the stores are going to be there to get you to spend as much money as possible. But the choice in the big names is your perceived value over the value of hopefully spending less for less choice in the budget offerings.
Yeah. And possibly the big point to get over here is that value doesn't actually have to necessarily cost money.
No.
Or even time, once it's built into the process.
Yeah.
The old adage of sort of how a site looks and feels is a good one. Everyone in the world who's become sort of a web developer, you'll hear the phrase, "Oh, I want a nice, simple site like that one that Apple have got."
Yeah, and you had to go at me for saying customer experience. Now you've said that.
I know. But it is the best example of how experience feels premium without it perhaps being in your face.
Yeah.
Apple's website is very simplistic. It shows you what you need to know, where you need to know it. And with the same sort of style and branding you can see everywhere.
Yeah.
That's
the key,
branding,
isn't it? It's
their
branding
branding matches.
The
it looks the same on the iPhone, on the phone as it does on the internet, on the web.
You nearly said iPhone, you Apple user.
I know. Well, I did say iPhone because we're talking about Apple. But yeah, it looks the same on your mobile browser as it does on your PC browser, is what I was trying to say. The same imagery, the same style of button, everything is then the same, and it matches all the way through Facebook, through Instagram or TikTok or anywhere else that they advertise their product or have their branding. It's the same, and you know by looking at it that it's Apple or Microsoft or whoever. You need to make sure that things feel the same and that you're not just actually a mixed bag of Canva or other templates that are just out there with standard themes. And make things a bit more unique.
And again, when we're talking about this kind of thing, people are going to think that sounds really expensive. But where it transfers really, really easily into other businesses, and this is where people don't always catch on, and this is the sort of the, I can do that moment, is the experience sometimes doesn't immediately hit you in the face until you think about it afterwards, how good that experience is. So if you're a tradesman who, say you do building services, gardening, whatever it might be, people will, of course, try and judge the experience on the end product of your work. That's what you're paying them for. That's where you expect the level, and that's where it's actually quite easy to convey that, because it's the end product. It's visible. It's something that lasts or whatever, depending on what the product is. But again, they're very competitive markets, just like e-commerce. But if you are a tradesman, you can immediately increase your perceived value to a customer without having done the work yet by, and I'm not trying to trigger anyone here, turning up on time. Okay, all right. They're never going to do that. But as an example, you turn up on time. You turn up when you say you are. Communicating is the same whether you're an e-commerce business or a tradesman. The communication should reflect your
I was just going to add to that. So if you are a tradesperson, you're going to turn up late, just phone somebody.
Yeah.
You'd much rather have a phone call saying, "Look, I'm going to be about 15 minutes late. I am on my way."
We're both triggered now, Andy. I think
we are.
We've set something off here, and I think people will probably have relatable experience.
Yeah.
That's the point, isn't it? So we're all aware that some businesses can have shortcomings. If you're a tradesman who has to travel around, there's an awful lot going on the roads at suppliers, whatever it might be. There are reasons that you might be like, communicate that. It's the very same if you're an e-commerce business and all of a sudden there's a reason that you're not going to be able to dispatch something for a day or two. It's the same. And getting those conveyed back to the customer should be done in the same way that you do all of your other businesses. So if you're going to be running late, then letting them know whether that is you arriving somewhere or it is a good or service arriving somewhere, and then presenting that as your brand. So if you're presenting an invoice to somebody, if you take the time and make sure it's got your logo on it, that looks an awful lot better than just a standard
piece of paper.
As an example, a standard piece of paper or a text message, something ripped out of a book, or a text message. Yes, it's going to be £500.
Oh, spelling mistake.
It's checking those things through, and people will say yes, those take time, and sometimes they can take money. They don't take an awful lot of money these days.
No,
we mention it a lot these days, but if you can use a phone, you can use something like Canva to create really nice graphics. You can even use Canva to create really nice documents these days. If you're a business that is struggling with money, you can get a single license for Canva for £6 a month, €6 a month, $6 a month, depending on where you are. You can then create all of your graphics and documents, and it will take you about 5 minutes. And you can apply all your colors and your fonts and things like that. So I think that's an important thing to be aware of almost every day. Has everything I've sent out today looked the same as everything I sent out yesterday? Or
I had a similar discussion about this in the car the other day with my other half. And we were following a van that was being driven rather appallingly. But it's this guy's work vehicle. He's got all his business branding all over that vehicle of what he does. I won't, I'm not name names. He was a plumber. And I say he simply because he's got his name all over the vehicle.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it and thinking, well, if I'd seen this and I was looking for a plumber, this would be the last person I would call.
Yeah.
Because if he works how he drives, I don't want him touching anything in my house.
No, that's it's that quick, isn't it? It's that perception, and it's exactly the same perception at all levels of the business, like delivery options.
Yes, and the biggest thing that is with delivery options, and certainly the most value that I believe people get from delivery options, is where you see that they get turned off based on who the delivery company is.
Yeah, and we've talked about that before, haven't we?
We've mentioned it maybe more than once. But you can increase the delivery cost depending on how the delivery company is perceived. So, for example, if you've got the two options of Royal Mail or DPD, and personally I won't go with DPD at the minute because I've had a bad experience, but that is few and far between, and previously to that I would have always gone with DPD. But I would have previously have been willing to spend more on a DPD delivery than I would a Royal Mail delivery.
Yeah.
Simply because I know that by 10 o'clock in the morning, I will have a text message telling me exactly what time my parcel is going to come between for an hour's window, rather than the 3-hour window that I get by email sometimes off Royal Mail.
Yeah. And the benefit there is that's an upsell, isn't it? Potentially for
yeah, it is, because I bet it doesn't cost much different to actually send the parcel by DPD or Royal Mail.
No, but you can, push up the delivery costs slightly in order, because you may have to have increased admin or, go slightly outside your procedures in order to send it by that. Yeah. As an example, not every business is going to be able to offer all of the delivery options, but actually if you've got a whole selection of delivery options, people will think, well, I'm being given choice here. And yes, it might mean that you've got to deal with 3 couriers one day. It's probably not going to happen that often, but if people are choosing that, then there's a reason, and that's a value that you're adding as a business. And you can always look for your own products and services for the simple things like, if your dispatch times are particularly good, are you telling people that? Is that something that you're letting people know? A big one these days is, does my packaging look on brand? And I don't mean, does everything come in expensive packaging like the Love Actually scene with Rowan Atkinson filling the bag with sweet smelling things and flourishes and all that. But it does mean that it looks like it comes from you, or what people expect your business to look like. Because quite often, particularly if you're an online business, if that's your first interaction with someone, will be the point that they pick up whatever it is you've sent. The first thing they will see of your business physically is going to be how that arrives with you. And that creates quite a lot of stress with some online retailers, because they say, well, I can't afford a fancy box. If you look at a fancy box, it's going to cost me more than a standard one. And I think these days, 2024, that's not quite as a valid a point as it might have been in 2005, because there's enough packaging options available. You can get any color, size, and in some cases material box for the same as a standard box or an envelope or a bubble mailer. If it looks like it comes from your business just by having a different color, then that's something. If that's not something you can do or needs to go in a special box, then loads of businesses these days, I mean, everyone's in it, they're just adding a sticker on the outside of the box, a little sticker, even if it's printed on your own printer. Or if you go onto eBay, you can get hundreds of stickers for a few pennies, and the perceived value of the product inside and any services that are attached to, they go up.
They do, because it's personal touch, little things. I follow a business on TikTok that I'm not going to mention because they are quite popular and they do sell some interesting things as well as normal things. But
I'm intrigued.
I'll send you the details later. But in every box, they'll put in like a free bag of sweets or a bar of chocolate or a little handwritten card to say thank you and things like that. Yeah. But the value that adds to it, and especially as they broadcast it all over TikTok constantly, is phenomenal. And the business they've generated out of that, because you can see people in the comments, oh yeah, I'm making my order, please pack my order for TikTok, please pack my order.
Yeah.
They've gone from running something out of their garage to running out of an industrial unit in a space of about 6 months.
Yeah. 100%.
And their popularity will continue to grow like that. And then we've had a good discussion this morning before we started recording about barbers and the value of the added value that you can get there. I mean, I'll let you tell your story in a moment, but my regular barber has since disappeared. He's moved away. He was meticulous. That I can't describe it any other way. He was absolutely meticulous. There would not be a hair out of place at the end of the haircut.
Yeah.
The lines of the beard would be perfect, and you left, you'd get a bit of face cream as he'd done the beard. You'd get a spray of some cologne and everything, and all at the same price as you'd pay at the salon down the road that did next to nothing other than the basics.
Yeah.
And you might get a little bit of conversation, and you pay for the experience, I suppose, is the thing you'd say.
You do pay for the experience, and yeah, I did. That particular bit came about because Andy and I were having a chat about barber. I had yesterday what I would consider the not a particularly great haircut. Not, the end product, how I look, which
is questionable.
Quite a question. Thank you, Andy. Generally questionable. Is probably not the best result I've ever had, but I would still go back to the barber. And the idea for the topic of this podcast came about last week, but I was sitting in the barber yesterday thinking, it's going to be perfect to talk about, because although I could tell I wasn't particularly generally happy with just the end result, so it was all over the place and whatnot, but I'm a bloke, I don't necessarily mind looking a little bit scruffy, but it was the additions, it was the shaving, and he sprayed me with a gun full of green liquid at some point that smelled really nice, but just having him walk around the chair with some sort of spray device, just spraying me with something, it just elevates the whole thing, and it probably costs them pennies a day to do those additional bits. I had my forehead shaved. I don't particularly have a hairy forehead as far as I'm aware. I'm not sure if anybody's got a hairy forehead, but I had my forehead shaved as part of the experience, and I thought, never had that done before.
No, it's something that you've got away and talked about.
I've gone away and I've talked about it, and although I know that I could get a better haircut down the road, I only went to this new barber because where I normally go was full. But although I know I can get a better haircut where I normally go, if they're full again, I won't think twice about going back to the place I went yesterday, because although the end result overall is not as good and the price is roughly the same, I felt that I got a good experience and they were able to elevate their product. So for my mind, as someone who does a bit of marketing in their day job, although the end product was perhaps of a lower quality, the effort that they put in to get to that end product was enough that it left me feeling as a customer, actually the person that was there, that was giving me the service, did genuinely want me to have a good experience.
Yeah.
And that's where the difference comes. And there's loads of ways that you can have the perceived value. One of the stories I like is told by Roy Sutherland. I mentioned it before. He's a marketing expert. He really is an expert. It's an example of going shopping for bedding. Everyone's got bedding at home, and it probably does the job. If you go out looking for a new set of bedding, then you either need to hit one of two marks. It's either got to be so cheap and just as good as what you got when you get home, or perhaps a little bit better because it's new and you go home and you think, yeah, that's bedding. Don't mind spending 40 quid on that.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to go out and you're going to spend £200 on bedding, then you need to have the experience that goes with it. You need to be able to lay in bed at night and think, oh, you know what, the thread count of this, the top of that, provenance of the practically woven fibres, make me feel like I am laying in the most comfortable set of bedding, the most beautiful linen that I've ever had. Whereas if you'd paid £50 for the same, or say £80, you'd probably feel, paid £80 for this. It's nice, but it's not that nice. So sometimes paying more will allow people to buy into the level of the product that you want to impart. And it's not just, I don't mean to interrupt, but it's not that I can whack a higher cost on something and people will feel it is more premium. If you've got a premium product, then you have to be careful that you're not just selling it a little bit more than your standard products, because the value is there. And by devaluing it, people will then only associate that slightly better quality with it that probably isn't doing it the right level of justice.
No, exactly. And you notice the difference, and that's the thing, because then if you've bought something that's a bit more high end but actually you think, yeah, I really like this, the continual telling of people of that, because people like to brag, it's the further generation of business to that, because if you perceive you're getting value from somewhere, you're going to return and you're going to talk about it.
Yes, yeah, we really are. And that's why this whole thing I think works. I think you need to know when you get into bed at night, or when you come home from whatever, or when you've had your garden cut, you need to think, yeah, that is a service that I'm happy I paid for, or I'm happy that I compromised on that.
Yes, that's it. You've got to be happy with the choice you make. But the confusion people sometimes get themselves stuck in here then is thinking that they need to adopt an entirely different business model just to be able to say that they offer value. You don't have to be Versace or Rolls-Royce to say that you give a really good service. In your industry, giving a really good service might just be being a bit more punctual, as we've discussed earlier, or offering a little more option for delivery services, or maybe gift messages, making promotional materials feel part of the brand, and look like it's just a cohesive plan. Is it the same font set? Is it the same size text? Are the colours the same? Does it? There's a lot to be said about having a branding pack. Yeah,
and at the other end of the spectrum, where people sometimes go wrong, and it comes a little bit back to that dreadful. I'd like my website to look like Apple, please, but it's really simple, so I only want to pay you a tenner. You can't expect to be Temu or Wish. We've all seen e-commerce brands that try and claim that they're doing things on the cheap, because it means actually I don't want to put that much into my business. Well, I can't afford to put that much into my business, or whatever it might be. I want to start a business. I want to put 200 quid. I'm going to buy the cheapest products I can find. I'm going to make most of the website myself. I'm going to do all of that because I don't want to spend money on it. And I'm going to be like Timo and Wish, because people buy stuff from them. They don't mind that it's junk because you're paying so low prices. And generally, unless you are Timo or Wish and have all of the supply chain things in place and the providers and everything that might do anything from start to finish, you're not going to be able to keep up with that, because in all the experience that I've found, being a discount retailer is one of the most expensive business models, because your profit margins are so low. Your overheads are so high, because in order to avoid just buying the cheap stock that everyone else is buying, and therefore be no different to them, you're going to have to buy it in such bulk that you need all the money. You can't just do everything on the cheap and say, well, it doesn't matter that my colours don't match because I'm a discount retailer. It doesn't matter that my products are going to break after a day because I'm a discount retailer. And then you need to have, if that is your business plan and you want to be at the lower end on everything, your plan needs to be solid from day one, and you need to be even more on top of it than if you were going to be a single product high ticket retailer that offered amazing service, because on that one you can spend a little bit more time, whereas on the lower model it's all about everything out the door as quickly as possible so you can turn it over.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we all fall into that pitfall sometimes. When I first started the business, it was quite easy to go, that I can do that cheap, because you want to get the business in and you want to generate income. But actually, the time spent is the same as if you charge double the price and put in the effort and got the value out of it at the end.
Yes, 100%.
On that, I suppose it's probably time we ended this for a week. And save the rest for a next episode. Instead of continuing to listen to the melodious sounds of our voices, we'll challenge you to go and think about how you can do something this week to add more value, even a little bit of value for very little investment. And of course, as always, please let us know your thoughts via social media, email, text message, any other way you'd like to get in touch.
Indeed. We have been Alex and Andy with Webwings, and we hope that you have a safe onward journey, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.